planet. The search was narrowed down to the southern skies below the ecliptic. Planet X is likely to be a brown dwarf whose orbit takes it back and forth between our sun and our sun's twin. Planet X has an orbit which takes 3,600 years approximately. When a planet's orbit is between two suns instead of around one, the orbit is a bit peculiar. It spends 99.99% of its time slowly going away from one of our suns to reach the halfway point. Then the gravity of the sun it's approaching takes over, and in a relative flash it travels the other half of its journey. Planet X reached the halfway point sometime in 2000. It only takes about 3 years to travel. The rest of the distance, it'll be cooking its greatest speed by the time it passes. Once it crosses Pluto's orbit, it will only take 90 days to pass right between the Earth and the Sun. The most likely date for its passage and effect on the Earth is in springtime of 2003. In 1982, even NASA momentarily officially recognized the existence of Planet X. An object is really there beyond the outermost planets. Today, NASA is trying to sweep the danger under the carpet, claiming that there is nothing more than a large asteroid, but whereas until early 2001, only the largest telescopes could have seen Planet X. Now even a small to mid-level observatories are sighting it. On the 4th of April 2001, the Laurel Observatory reported its magnitude and its coordinates. As you can see with this report, they've obviously were wrong on the dates, and part of that is because they've recently since then found more Pluto-like objects, smaller than Pluto, beyond the solar system, which would account for some of the gravitational pull, and that of course would throw off their calculations as to potential size and the time it takes and all that sort of thing. But the interesting part is it was acknowledged and then swept under the rug, and like now they claim that all the gravitational anomalies are accounted for by these icy bodies that are beyond Pluto. So if this type of planet is coming through the solar system, what does it mean? Of course, you're going to get a little variation on that. People think different things will happen. One theory is a pole shift, because there seems to be evidence of a pole shift in the past. Now, pole shift would be where the North Pole and South Pole change positions. I don't mean a total shift from north to south. I mean they shift from where they were. Like our North Pole now is not where the North Pole was, let's say, 2,000-3,000 years ago. Especially in the older days, we had theories people thought as early as maybe 97 or the year 2000 that the Earth could shift, the whole land outer crust shift, and basically everything would move. And when everything would move, you would have a new North Pole and a new South Pole. But that never panned out, because in 97 to 2000 they thought the trigger was going to be the alignment of the planets, and thought that the extra gravitational pull and also the ice buildup on the North and South Pole would cause the shift. Now the thinking is associating it with the return of Planet X or Nibiru. The last ice age pole shift is proof that we had an encounter with a large celestial body at the time. The old true North Pole has been just north of the state of Wisconsin. Russian Siberia had a tropical climate with rainforests and mastodons, and in a single night of total destruction, those areas were blown apart by incredible winds and storms, and the pole had shifted an estimated 30 to 40 degrees. Overnight, the mastodon herds were flash frozen and buried in what is now the Siberian tundra, with the fresh tropical plants still in their throats. The meat was so well preserved that it was used as food and even sold to commercial markets during the building of the Trans-Siberian Railway. Even a single day of exposure to a warm temperature would have rendered the meat rancid and useless. The earth change was so rapid and complete that this did not happen. The meat was as fresh as the day it froze. Thousands of years earlier, about 3,600 years ago, which is precisely the period of the most recent visit of Planet X before the present time. This 10th planet is supposed to be 4 to 5 times the size of Earth and 100 times as dense, meaning that it has a large gravitational pull, And supposedly each 3,600 years as it comes by Earth, it does not collide with the Earth as it passes by, but the intense gravitational pull does affect the Earth tremendously. And it supposedly has done so in the past, the last time approximately at 1600 BC. The gravitational pull of this 10th planet is on the way toward us right now, and we're already beginning to show its effects in the entire solar system. Its effects in the entire solar system. When Planet X crosses between the Earth and the Sun, the Earth's surface plates, the land masses, will be shifted. The Earth may actually stop its rotation for 3 days while it's in the grip of the massive planet as it speeds past the Earth. There will be mega huge earthquakes, there will be massive tidal waves, and there will be extremely high winds and hurricane-force torrential rains. There will also be meteor showers from the debris dragged along in space in its tail of the planet due to its tremendous gravitational pull. And there's nothing scientists can do about it. And these thoughts and theories of what might happen are based on modern interpretations of evidence gathered in modern times. But like NASA has tried to say or said that that there was no giant planet out there. They've figured out what was causing the anomalies. Some people might think, well, that ends that, and that may be true. But it is interesting to note that we have a story of Pt2's comet. He's a famous South African writer. In the year 2000, he gave a keynote address to the Living Lakes Partnership, and in conclusion he said, "Let me tell you one last thing. I am told by the great storytellers of our tribes that fresh water is not native to our earth. Once, many thousands of years ago, a terrible star, the kind of star with a very long tail, descended very close upon our skies, so close that the earth turned upside down, and what had become the sky became down, and what was the heavens became up. The whole world was turned upside down. The sun rose in the south and set in the north. Then came drops of burning black stuff like molten tar, which burned every living thing on earth that could not escape. After that there came a terrible deluge of water, accompanied by winds so great that they blew whole mountain tops away. And after that came huge chunks of ice bigger than any mountain, and the whole world was covered with ice for many generations. After that the surviving people saw an amazing sight. They saw rivers and streams of water that they could drink, and they saw some of the fishes that escaped from the sea were now living in these rivers. And this is the great story of our forefathers. And we are told that these things are going to happen again very soon, because the great star, which is the lava of our sun, is going to return on the day of the year of the Red Bull, which is the year 2012. Ancient legends or stories of the past, to me, are great because I think they always give us this little nugget of truth. These people saw things in the past and they recorded it. And of course they've added things or put their own spin to it, not unlike what people do today. But you can sometimes get from these legends the kernel of truth or the events that truly did happen, and not every bit of it is just a myth or something that was made up. And that's what you get here. I think you're getting a legitimate event that happened now, and they believed it was caused by the passing of a star. And it's just fascinating to see that the year 2012 crops up in multiple civilizations or cultures as a significant date. And even ones that don't necessarily have that date, the changing of ages, like in Hinduism, their changing of ages coming at that time. In Buddhism, and Islam is looking for their Messiah, the Mahdi, to come. And some say that there's going to be a dissolving and merging between the physical and spiritual worlds. The Dogon, an African tribe, say that the spaceship of visitors that had visited them, the Nomo, will return in the form of a blue star at that time. The Pueblo acknowledge that 2012 will be the emergence of the fifth world. Cherokee calendar ends in 2012. These things are all pointing, these all little pieces point to at that time of significant events occurring. And you can't help but imagine that if some of these events of what disasters that are going to happen, that sounds very much like the tribulation, the end times, very much so. which leads us to a book written by David